Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, and a happy Monday morning out to everyone over there in cryptocurrency land. As always, wishing you the happiest of happy Mondays. My God, I have no coffee this morning, but I do have plenty of ground beef and eggs over here, and also some kale sprinkled in over it. It's kind of nasty, but you know what? We got some media price action. We got some new things to discuss, and perhaps we will even invoke the power of, if I can find him, where are you? Come to me now. Perhaps could it be the return of Bull Jesus? Now that's a question that we'll be answering throughout this video right here. But again, focusing on the lower term time frames, and of course, well, I'm just gonna get that out of the way. Of course, I don't want to be a fucking clickbait fucker. No, not quite yet. But hey, things are looking a little bit interesting over here. We do have some new things to talk about, no doubt about that. Still, as long as you're above 6150, I do see the potential for Bitcoin just going sideways for a prolonged period of time and popping up after everyone's bored enough, which actually, you know, actually does feel like it's kind of happening. Okay, with yesterday's daily diddle closing above the yellow 21 exponential right over here, very low volume action, but hey, you are closing back above it. The first time you've done that in quite some time. Let's throw on the 10 simple to see where that guy's coming in around, as we probably blasted through him as well. Yes, we did. So what is this saying to me right here, right now, when we have all these moving averages that will sometimes give a signal and then come right back on in? Consolidation. And that's exactly what the volume characteristics are showing. That's exactly what the charts are showing, and that's exactly what the what our other kind of not proprietary, but secondary and tertiary confirmation tools are showing as well. So when it comes down to it, yes, we had been looking at this as a descending triangle, but again, you know, once we got this action over here, we spoke about how this is unlikely to be a descending triangle anymore. And technically speaking, you did kind of break this one up to the upside over here. Although, you know, no volume on this. You just go sideways, come back down, test it. And now we've had a reactionary bounce off of it. But here's what we do have that's a little bit interesting. Crashing back above that 6360 resistance that we spoke on yesterday. And closing the day, or perhaps not closing the day, but at least getting all the way up to our next area, right around 6460-ish area. So, hey, if you took that trade, well fucking done. Nice little $100 trade. I did, you know, we've been speaking about this for quite some time. So hey, if you took it, nice, perfect, awesome. You made you made a trade in an overall pretty boring market. So yesterday was actually the day that I probably traded the most out of the last like month or so, month, maybe even 2 months. Anyways, so far holding the 200 exponential on the 4-hour dildo chart right over here. Decent volume on the dildos, kind of bringing us up, but again, big, massive, long-legged doji dildo right here on heavy volume, signaling that the rally is likely over now. So what happens now? Well, perhaps we go back to consolidation a little bit more, some more sideways action. The new range being 6360 to 6460. So a breakout of either one of these ranges will denote the next trade, in my opinion. If you do break below 6360, where would I be looking towards? I'd be looking towards right over here, actually. I'd actually be looking towards this guy right here, right around 6250-ish area. By the same token, if you do break 6460, then the next one that's on the table, in the way that I look at it, is this guy right here, about 6630, which is actually now very important. And let me get to why it's very important. And we have a few things to talk about on this guy as well. So I'm going to draw out the overall downtrend resistance line, which people have been looking at as a descending triangle. But over the last, over like the last week or so, ever since we saw this action over here, we spoke on how this is now really coming into question. I'm not saying that it 100% is not, but there are certainly discrepancies with it. The volume characteristics are no longer like that of a descending triangle. Also, we are getting extremely mature in this pattern over here, and usually, and again, this is one of those things where it's a usually, but not always. But usually they will, if it was going to be a descending triangle, it would have broken a little bit beforehand. Actually, you would have probably seen it somewhere, you know, right over here in this range over here. Instead, we're still kind of going sideways, and you know, I don't want to say holding it strong, but as long as we're kind of holding it here, that, I don't want to say it's my main interpretation, but I do, the longer that we stay here, the more likely it becomes, is what I'm more comfortable saying. Yes, the longer that we stay here, the more likely it becomes. But we're going to have to stay here for like another, you know, perhaps months, you know. Anyways, the next trade that I'm looking at is actually buying back the retest of this yellow 21 exponential right around 6380-ish area. So a lot of the time, a lot of the time just a very easy play to be making, as that second kind of comeback is high quality play. By the same token, like I said, our next support would technically be around 63.60, so you might wick a little bit lower, but overall if we do come back into that range, I'd be looking to be a buyer. Again, not because I'm saying that we're going back onto all-time highs, because I'm a fucking trader, and I see like a decent enough trade available. Perhaps I think it'd be very likely to get another test of 64.60, and like we said, if we did break above it, then there's very little stopping you from 66.30, which, sorry, I didn't even finish the sentence over here, but this overall downtrend resistance line that's coming in around 66.30 now, if we could get above that area, then that would be a change of behavior just by the just by the measurement of it. We've been living under this for the last 11 months, so getting above it, whether you just call it a descending triangle or not, is still a change of behavior. It's still something significant, and at that point in time, I wouldn't see much stopping you from really this area right over here, which would, funnily enough, be somewhere right around your 200 exponential, this purple line, right in this kind of area, right around here is where I'd be looking. So overall, a lot of trades be made. It's kind of like a checkers board right now. But again, these are very, very easy trades to be made. It's just channel trading, which is my favorite, really. So, hey, if you do take out this level over here, then, you can maybe climb the next step of the wall of worry. But again, the wall of worry is quite high. I mean, technically speaking, it goes all the way to 10,000. Although I'd say above about 8,000, I'd be pretty... I'd be starting to, it'd be hard to contain my excitement. Again, I want Bitcoin to go up. It just makes my life easier. But, as long as it's kind of still down around here, it is still in red alert territory, although not as dire as it was just a week and a half ago. Anyway, so as long as Bitcoin's right around here, those kind of the ranges that I'd be looking for. Our daily Stokes are pointed up and gaining a lot of momentum up. Again, not taking too much to really get them going right here, especially if you have, a couple months of very, 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 very narrow ranges. Actually timing you a perfect buy signal on my proprietary stochastic down around here. Actually, it's not even a proprietary stochastic anymore. It's the Jewel, which is incorporating several different things actually now. It's evolved, and that actually told you to buy right here, right at 65.50-ish, or sorry, 63.50-ish area. So timing you a perfect buy right before that. So I like that. Good confluence. RSI getting out of the bearish zone into the neutral zone. So perhaps we are seeing a short-term change around in a lot of things over here. What about the 12-hour? What did the 12 hours say? 12-hour actually giving you the signal a little bit earlier. Closing above the 21 exponential like that. 12-hour Stokes getting up there as well. But hey, that's getting into the bullish zone. I like that's a good thing. What else do we have to look at? We ought to look at the 2-day, of course. Oh wow, can see that Mr. Buterol is rallying in the back of my eye over there. But let's see, we got the 2-day over here, still being held by the 21 exponential right over here. But hey, it's one thing before the other. So, the 12-hour before the daily, the day before the before the 2-day. But overall, you have a nice solid, thick, tight, girthy green dildo right here. But again, very low volume action, so that does make me a little bit scared. You still have to deal with this 2-day death cross right over here. And yes, you are still below the 21 exponential, which you've been living below for the last quite literally almost 2 months. And again, the only time we've ever even had the death cross on the 2-day dildo chart was over here back in 2014. And just before everyone gets too damn excited, I do want to remind you, I feel like the fucking Grinch right now, but I do want to remind you that hey, when you had the death cross right over here, the green and the purple, so to say, you actually did pop back up and test the green, which we have done in 2018. And then you spent a lot of time going sideways along this yellow 21 exponential. So if Bitcoin does fail around here, it's still the gloves certainly aren't off just yet. I would still be very cautious, but overall things, it has a chance here. Again, similarities that I see are very low volume action, kind of taking you above this area on this try over here, and then it eventually just kind of peters out. So again, Bitcoin is exhibiting similar behaviors. Again, historical analysis, not a one-to-one analysis. I don't want to represent it like that because that's not responsible. I don't believe it works like that. At least that has not been my experience, my personal experience. Although all the fucking fractal people will tell you it's the same thing. It's like, nope, nope, nope. Come on, stop it. If you live long enough, I think you will find that to be untrue. Anyways, we do have similar behavior over here, though. You know, you get the death cross over here, and then you are kind of crawling along the 21 exponential on very low volume. So that would be a counterpoint to what I'm saying. So again, I want to be very fair, very fair and balanced, and that's why I don't want to ever become a signals guy or anything like that, because it's just, you can't do that. I don't believe that you can do that. I believe that you could do this. And we've been doing this for the last like 2 months. You know, it's like, okay, if you break this range, then here's the next trade. If you break that range, then here's the next trade. It's that fucking simple. It takes a little bit of patience. Which is very difficult to have in a market or in trading. But hey, if you can have that patience, you can make these decent trades. You know, I mean, $100 is not like a groundbreaking trade, but you know, when you make like, you know, couple, you know, what, like 4 or 5 of them in the last couple of weeks, they start to add up. So good enough is good enough. Anyways, let's go check out what the weekly did. We did get a new tick on the weekly over here. Weekly still being held back by the 10 simple. Again, this does make me hesitant. The weekly kind of closing, people will call this a hammer. No, it's not a hammer. Hammer needs to be at the bottom of a fucking downtrend. This is obviously not, but it is, you know, it's kind of like a bodyless dildo, kind of the same as this guy right over here, which typically in my experience is not the best thing, especially with this 10 simple, you know, sloped so aggressively to the downside. Also, we got a new tick on the green at 55 exponential in the yellow 21 exponential on the weekly dildo chart, and those are still gaining momentum away from each other. So again, thinking of a relationship between this and like a MACD, you know, moving average convergence divergence indicator, essentially is what it is. In case you didn't know, it's not like the McDonald's motherfucker. But hey, they are actually gaining momentum away from each other, which is not a good thing. Again, the only other time we've ever even seen that happen in Bitcoin's almost 10-year history was right over here in 2014, where, you know, you got the crossover here, and then you spent about a month and a half to 2 months just going sideways as they kind of gained more and more momentum, and then boom, down, all the way down to your red dildo capitulation death. And it sounds so much nicer when you say it with a voice like that. Anyways, blue 30 simple moving average still slope to the downside. So this is why I can't get too excited here. I'd really want to curtail my own, you know, my own trading behavior. I don't want to have biases to the upside or the downside. The higher time frames, still nothing has changed. We need to see a lot more proof before I get excited. But hey, you know, the events of the last day are certainly better than nothing. It does seem like Bcash is kind of leading the way, so that would be a more positive thing as well. Anyways, over here we do see that that Bitcoin, you know, Bitcoin. It really does have a free ride if it wants to about 6630. Again, this 100 exponential right here, which would be aligning with our overall downtrend resistance line. So, if it breaks 6460. So that is the next trade to be made, in my opinion. And I am leaning towards that happening. To actually be honest with my Jesus Christ, man, I'm always fucking honest. That's silly. That's a silly thing to say. But to actually, like, you know, reveal my own preferences. But am I getting long right here? No, absolutely not. You just don't know what's going to happen. But hey, if we break this area right here, yeah, I'm happy to take a long. Now, we do have something unique coming into the market right now, as the SEC is plans to rule on 9 Bitcoin ETFs by today, November 5th. Or if you're not currently in November 5th, well, welcome to the goddamn future. But here's the thing, with Bitcoin rallying and all these altcoins rallying and shit right now, that does essentially say that the expectation for this is positive. So what happens when you have an event and the expectation is positive and the event is either denied or in a lot of cases approved too? Well, a lot of the times you'll dump afterwards. Although I would imagine if ETFs did start to get approved, you'd probably start pumping, you know, a good amount, at least enough to get above that 64-60 area, I would imagine. So probably a trade to be made. But again, this is a very interesting thing to be aware of today, because again, you know, the expectations are positive. That is what the charts are saying right now. So if the expectations are soiled, are ruined, which human expectations are quite easy to do, with that, then it might not end too prettily. Anyways, but again, you know, flip a fucking coin. You don't. We don't know. It is coming to the end of the year, and I did say, you know, around 2019, probably going to get an ETF somewhere right around there. Although I'm not quite sure about. It's still November. November's getting fucking close, man. So fair enough. I don't really have an opinion on the ETF anymore. Just in September. That's really all. Okay, let's go check out the total market cap over here. Again, my least favorite way of doing things, but and again, a lot of people looking at this as some sort of a falling wedge. I don't really see that, but I do see a symmetrical triangle over here, and we do have something interesting because with yesterday and today's actions over here, volume is starting to kick a little bit back up above the mean as we can see, and we are poking our heads above this resistance trend line of this symmetrical triangle, fucking around with this horizontal right here. But hey, because it is a symmetrical triangle, a measure move can be made, and that would actually be pointing us all the way up to about 257 billion. If we were to actually make it all the way up there. But again, you know, you have a lot of, I really don't like measured moves all the time. You know, you still got this resistance right here, then 225, then 240, and then 258. Again, and this is my least favorite way of doing things anyways with the coin market cap, just because, well, it's a very crude way of doing it. By the same token, you know, if you do get a fake out and you do break back down, it'd be pointing you down towards about 160 billion. So again, overall, it is a more positive. This is obviously a more positive thing than negative thing. Don't get me wrong. It's just, you know, it's not my favorite way, but we know, or we know that it's very likely that if things were to start to signal some more up, it's going to be first notified in something like this, a total market cap, because this is, you know, it's a very crude way. It's a very forgiving and lenient way, as it's only the last price multiplied by the circulating supply, which again is quite easy to fuck around with. So hey, you know, breaking above over there. So hey, there you go. What else do we have to talk about? Let's go check out Mr. Buterol. Where is Mr. Buterol? Mr. Buterol. There you are. There you are. Yeah, Mr. Buterol is doing something interesting as well. I believe Mr. Buterol is in some sort of a symmetrical triangle down around here. You did break above the first initial part right here, but again, volume over here is not indicative of a true breakout out of this whole symmetrical triangle. So what do we do? Well, we basically just redraw it. But I would imagine that this now is going to be active support, or at least as long as you're above that, you know, I do lean. I shouldn't say that I lean to the upside, but you know, you do you're just kind of filling up more space with perhaps a slight bias. Anyways, pulling it out over here, you know, the volume characteristics on this are I think very, very obviously. Jesus Christ, man, it's just annoying. But I'm trying to make a trend line on this guy right here. Yeah, there we go. So you can see on the volume over here, you know, the volume characteristics are very obviously consolidation, essentially. You know, this very orderly drop off in volume as you kind of crawl your way along. So that's why I do say that this guy over here, not necessarily the breakout that I'm looking for, but it is but it does look like it's good enough for that lower level. So now we're gonna get to consolidate between. Jesus Christ, I absolutely hate that trading view. I don't hate you trading view. I just hate it when you don't auto zoom. But hey, you know, if Mr. Buterol comes back down to about 204-ish area, that to me would likely be a buy. Or maybe like about 206 or 204 area. We kind of have to see it in real time to really know. But hey, if you did come back down to that area, that looked pretty damn interesting to me. By the same token, still, I need to see a clear and obvious break above this area now. This area being about 214 with like a daily little closed on heavy volume. And of course, I need still have to deal with this guy over here at around 249, 250-ish area. And we still do and if you were to break out the whole damn thing, you'd have a measure move actually pointing you all the way towards about 270-ish area, give or take a little bit. So again, that would be the more bullish interpretation. Of course, this symmetrical triangle has equal opportunity to break out to the upside as a downside, just as you saw before, you know, in this guy over here before he broke down to this area. And if you did break it out to the downside, which would be denoted by a daily little close below 193, or sorry, 194, that'd be pointing you down towards about 130-ish areas. So again, it's not quite over just yet, but hey, you know, I mean, again, more positive things than negative. So I welcome that right now. Especially just being able to fucking trade. Like I said, yesterday was I traded more than I've traded in like the last. It's gotta be like fucking couple months, I'd imagine. Okay, so hourly over here. Hourly, are we showing any sort of bearish divergence on the hourly? Yeah, we did. We did get a lot of bearish divergence on this pop up over here, but now we've kind of like come back down, reset it in the neutral zone, and it looks like we're gonna give it another try. What about the 3 hour over here? 3 hour Stokes are crossing down, so do be aware of that, especially if you're in the technical analysis program. No RSI divergence over here, but this is gonna fire a sell signal relatively soon as well, I'd imagine. What about the 8 hour? I'm curious what the 8 hour says. 8 hour has a nice topping dildo right here on relatively heavy volume, although none of this is high volume to begin with. But hey, it's something. Really like splitting hairs. And 8 hour Stokes kind of hinting at across the downside as well. 10 hour as well, getting ready to cross down, and not really too much to make out of the RSI, to be honest with you. Let's see. Let's go over and check out. Yeah, let's do a quick overview of SPYs before we get into the trading week. SPYs getting rejected at the 200 exponential at the end of last week, hitting the measure move after hitting the measure move off this bear flag that we had in for quite some time. So very, very nice. I do believe that this week's probably going to be a little bit more bounce week. Maybe you come back and fill the gap at like 269 and then fill out this range over here. But overall, you know, weekly last week had a decent close, closing above the 55 exponential on a nice doji-ish type dildo. So I don't, you know, while I do think that overall this chart looks like it wants to come down on like the higher time frames, like a monthly, the low, you know, like the weekly and below look like they kind of want to stay, like, you know, go a little bit sideways, maybe and maybe even bounce up a little bit. This is your monthly over here. Significant bearish divergence on here. Stochastic significant bearish divergence and opening down as well. So I don't like that. That's why I'm quite bearish on this. Over time though, you know, that's a monthly. That could take, you know, until next year really for it to play out. But overall, it does seem to me like this is that is some pretty hefty selling right there. Okay, let's get on over into Dixie and do a little bit of Dixie analysis. Has it started trading today? I think. Probably no, I don't think it has. But hey, here's what I could say about Dixie. As long as you're above $96 in 5 or 6 cents, I think you're fine. By the same token, though, you have some pretty hefty bearish divergence on the daily, but not on the higher time frames. So not on other higher time frames. So overall, you know, if you can hold the yellow 21 exponential, which is again at $96.05, you know, looks good. It would look good to me. But again, the second that you actually lose this area right here, $96.05, likely coming down to this area right over here. Well, we can just draw this one in. This area right over here, right around $95.40. So again, you know, if you can break back above $96 and let's call it 70 cents, then perhaps we do get another run at the at this high over here, and then we can decide from there. But hey, you know, overall, Dixie does look to me. I really don't want to see a breakout on bearish divergence. That's usually not the best sign. But hey, you know, if you can break back above your prior high right around here, $97.10, then I wouldn't see much stopping from this area right over here at around $97 and let's just call it 80 cents, 97.5 cents. So overall, thing to be aware of on this guy over here. Can certainly still go either way. Depends what, you know, who's gonna say. So you never know. You never fucking know, man. It's a complete wild card. That's what makes it fun. Anyways, back now over here to kind of wrap it up. Yeah, Bitcoin still just kind of in this range right here right now. It's not really this is not really a trade zone to me. You know, you did put in some nice bearish divergence, but that was only on an hourly, not on any other higher time frames. But other higher time frames are giving you kind of like a, you know, you know, like a short-term reversal type signal. You know, you got your, I believe it was on the 4 hour. Yeah, we had a nice long-legged doji right here on heavy volume. So likely gonna spend some time trying to consolidate this area right here. As long as you stay above 64.05, I think relatively positive. But the second that you break down below it, you know, it's not the end of the world, but 63.60 would be the next area that I'm looking towards. If you break 63.60, now very little holding you up from about 62.50. If you break 62.50, then there's very little holding you up from about 61.50, and 61.50 is that major level that I don't, you know, as long as we're above there, I don't want to get too damn bearish on this whole chart. But the second that you break there, I start to get pretty damn bearish on this whole chart. By the same token, if you break back above 64.60, very little stopping you from about 66.40-ish area, which actually would be a very interesting area to kind of approach and see how we react around there. But hey, if Bitcoin can take out that area, that's would really start to make me reconsider a lot of things. Still not, still not all the way there, but you still have to get a higher high above 7,400. And then, obviously this guy right around here as well would be very convincing. But hey, it's a wall of worry. That's why they call it the fucking wall of worry. Again, keep an eye out for the SEC's decisions on those ETFs, because I'm sure the market will very likely have a reaction towards that, whether it be positive or negative. And I look forward to seeing you in a live stream near you soon. I'll be back on a little bit later tonight. Hopefully we have some new, more fresh price action, and take care.